Alright, we're doing it live. In 3, 2, 1. Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's fineokay from Team Cryptic, or I guess Team Cryptic. SPL season's over, but feels bad, man. Today we're going to be going over the 420 patch notes. Blaze it up. It's called Tides of China. This is the patch that Super Regionals is going to be played on. Hi, YouTube. Shut up, tough weeb. Just kidding. Yeah, so this is the patch that Super Regionals is going to be played on, so it's actually a pretty big deal. There's some things that need to be changed before Super Regionals, or else the meta will be pretty bad. But yeah, we're going to go through it, talk about some stuff. This is my first patch notes video. I don't know why I haven't done these in the past, but I definitely will do these in the future. And for now, we're going to be doing this one. So let's see what is in store for us. So there's a bunch of skins, some cool skins actually, but I don't really care too much about that. It's just going to be the balance and stuff. Only skin I actually care about here is the Thor skin. That should be fun. Looks like a cool skin. So there's the Odyssey stuff, blah, 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 whatever. Digital voice or digital loot pack for SWC. They're actually updating all the icons for the items. Not all of them, but a lot of them. All of these right here, listed right here. Not that big of a deal. I guess they're updating the art for each icon so that it better matches like the colors for the tree and everything like that. So, whatever. So there's the bug fixes. I guess we can talk about that a little bit because some of these are actually a little bit balance based. So they fixed the roll, or not the roll. They fixed the dashes on all these characters being root immune like mid cast. So like if you casted your rollout and then a Kumakarna 2'd you mid rollout before your CC immunity, you would get rooted, which is fine. But sometimes there would be an issue where you could not roll out, or you could not Vamana dash out, or Erling Shen transformation out of a root. So like they would root you and they would use your dash, and you would just sit there and start dashing, but you wouldn't be moving at all. So they fixed that so that you actually can dash out of roots on all these characters. You can still get rooted during the dash though itself, so that's pretty cool. It doesn't really change anything for solo. The entire analysis of this will have a hint of solo bias, or at least solo like analysis. But I will be talking about like overall conquest and everything like that as well. So they changed it so you can actually see. Yeah, that doesn't really matter. They just made it so you could see which buffs you get the Kamazat's 2 passive from. So they didn't actually change Kokolin at all. Kokolin got no adjustments this patch, which is kind of a big deal. Kokolin's really good right now. Don't know why they didn't change him at all, nerf his damage or anything like that. But they didn't. This is just a because you know every patch they patch something and then they forget to put it in the description or everything like that. So they did that this patch. So whoop-de-doo. Daji, this was just like a visual effect. Like you couldn't see the powwow from really far away. So they fixed it so that you can actually see it. Because most abilities you should be able to see from far away. So this is something that kind of has a balance implication. Is fix an issue where cleansing the movement speed slow from Mighty On could also cleanse the attack speed slow. So since if you interrupt a mez with Goomba, you get the attack speed slow, and it's actually pretty big. I think it's like 30% or something. So now if it gets cleansed, you actually will still have your attack speed slowed. This isn't like something like you probably notice. You were like, oh my god, my attack speed slow is just getting cleansed all the time, and I'm not being able to use my kit to its full effect. Because of that, it's not that big of a deal, but this does help Kumakarna out a little bit. And they actually buff Kumba later on down the patch notes, so we'll talk about that. What is Powwow? Yeah, Powwow is the ultimate, the chains, you pull them into the tower. So just a little tiny help for Kumakarna. This was just, yeah, this isn't that big of a deal. It's just a visual effect fix. And the same thing with Kumakarna with Vamana. You have an attack speed slow on your 3 on Vamana, and it could get cleansed alongside the slow it has on it, because they both have movement speed and attack speed slows on the abilities. So just a little bit of help for them. Not that big of a deal. You didn't notice it at all, I bet. But yeah, just helps a little bit for them. So this is one of the biggest changes was Soul Eater. They completely redid it. So now it is an item that actually evolves. You can read this if you want. I'm just going to go through it real quick. I'm just going to go through the part that matters, which is the base stats and what it actually does. So it's 2,400 gold. So 2,400 gold is not a cheap item, but it's not an expensive item. It's right there in the middle. So you would want it. It would have to be an item that you would, I guess maybe you would start the game with it, or maybe you would get it early. It's definitely not an item you get late in the game for a few reasons, but this gold right here, it's right in the middle. So Yeah, it depends on what the stats it gives you for that amount of gold. So we'll have to see. So it gives you 30 physical power. By the way, I already know all the patch changes and everything like that. So I'm not reading it for the first time. So I do know some of my thoughts on these things. So it gives you 30 physical power right off the bat. So for 2,400 gold, you get 30 physical power. You get 10% physical lifesteal and 10% cooldown reduction. So at this price, 2,400 gold, you get these three things, these three stats: 10% cooldown reduction, not that bad. 10% physical lifesteal, kind of bad, and 30 physical power, kind of bad. I mean, 30 physical power is pretty decent, but for this gold, it's definitely not worth it just off the base. So for the passive, let's look at the passive. So each time anything dies near you, you gain a stack. Gods, large jungle monsters, and jungle bosses provide 5 stacks. So every time a minion dies, you get a stack. You don't even have to last hit it. If a god dies or a jungle monster or a jungle boss, whatever, you get 5 stacks. So you can stack this up, I guess, pretty quickly once you buy it. It's 2,400 gold. So once you're able to get to that 2,400 gold and buy it, you'll be able to stack this up in probably 5 minutes. Max probably 5 minutes, I would think. Just with minion waves, jungle camps, if you're fighting at all. If it's a slow game, you're probably not stacking it up that fast, but 5 minutes would probably be the max amount of time if you're farming really well and you're fighting a lot. If you're not fighting a lot, maybe a little bit more. So anyway, once you get to those stacks, you gain 20 physical power. So now you're at 50 physical power for 2,400 gold after getting all your stacks. And it allows your abilities to heal you for 10% of the damage dealt. So keep in mind, this is the damage you deal with the ability, right? So I talked about this before. People are saying in chat that they think it's OP and blah, 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 it's busted and it's going to be a must buy or whatever. But I actually don't think that. And when you do the math for this, it doesn't even seem that good. This heal, the 10% of the damage dealt, does not seem that good. And I'll show you why. So Medusa ult, and we're going to go to it. Medusa ult does, I'm going to use Medusa as an example here because I think it's not going to be worth it on hunters. If it's worth it on anybody, it's probably going to be a some assassin. So let's say you're playing Medusa, you buy this item, you get it all the way stacked, and you get the best scenario ever in a fight where you get a 5-man Medusa ult. And let's say since it hits 700, 100% of your physical power, let's just say it hits for 800, maybe it doesn't. You're going to have more physical power for that, but 800 for every character since some of them are tanky. So since it's 800 for every character, go to calculator, not web. Go to a calculator, so it hits everybody for 800. We hit 5 characters, right? So 4,000 damage dealt, and it's healing us for 10% of our health, so times 0.10. So we're going to get healed for 400, and that's the best case scenario possible. That's not that big of a heal. That's not that big, like, it's not going to warrant buying this item to do something like that. And when the best case scenario is you heal for 400. So I don't think this item will be worth it on even hunters. If it heals off minions as well, it might, you'd have to test it out, right? I'd have to see. But if it healed off minions as well, it might help it a little bit, but I still don't think it's worth it. Maybe some assassins could do well with this because it gives you 50 power, and some assassins do really well with power, like Bastet and stuff. And maybe healing off that might be worth it. Seems like a fun idea, but it just seems like a worse Gladiator Shield because Gladiator Shield is 1,700 gold. That's 700 gold cheaper than this, and you're getting like physical protection, which is a good stat for anyone in the game, right? So it just seems like a worse Gladiator Shield. Plus, Gladiator Shield heals you for your maximum health and not the damage you deal, so it's not going to be mitigated by protections and, you know, whatever. So, I know I went on a lot about that, but this is pretty much the biggest change. I don't know if this is going to be that good of an item. I don't think it will be, especially on hunters. Maybe some assassins, like I said. We'll have to see. And a lot of it relies on whether it does damage or it procs off of, like, minions and stuff. So, not that big of a deal. Have to test it out. Next big deal, actually relevant to soul laners because soul eater is not going to be bought on any soul laners, right? Is Shield of Thorns. So Shield of Thorns has been a pretty big deal lately. It's pretty much a must buy on solos right now, and it kind of dictates the meta, honestly. Pretty much everybody has to buy it. If you're building tanky jungler, you should buy it. If you're playing a support that dives and that can zone out people, you should buy it. And it's pretty OP because people can literally just one-shot themselves on you, the character using the thorns. So their nerf, what they've done to adjust it is decrease the duration on the upgrade from 8 seconds to 5 seconds. So 8 seconds is ridiculous. That's basically an 8-second disarm where the hunter can't hit me if we're even, right? That's pretty gross, so they did reduce that to 5 seconds. I think this is a really good change. I don't want it to be brain dead. You just pop thorns and people kill themselves on you. Even as a soul laner, I think that's ridiculous. Like, should not be a thing in Smite. But I do think it's necessary because of all the hunter items that have been buffed lately and how good hunters are right now with all the solo farm they get. I'm kind of just repeating what people have said on Twitter, but I do want to repeat it for my YouTube viewers, right? So yeah, hunters are really good right now. They get a lot of farm. They have really good items. So Thorns is a necessary evil, even though it requires no skill. Um, yeah. So this is a good adjustment. I don't think they should take it out of the game ever though. Executioner has been, speaking of hunters having really good items, Executioner is getting a bit of a price increase, which is I guess a nerf for hunters. It's only 100 gold, not that big of a deal. It's still going to be a must buy. It's still going to be your third item on pretty much all your builds because it's dev gloves, boots, into the Executioner always. It's just too good of a build path right now. This 100 gold is going to make it a little bit more expensive to do so, but as a hunter who is soloing literally everything and getting so much farm, it won't matter. This is basically just like a, hey, we kind of adjusted hunters because everybody said they were OP. But yeah, this is a step in the right direction, whatever. But like I said, it's not going to do anything. So Amaterasu's up next for God Balance. So this is relevant to solo, obviously, since Ama's a really good, well, not really good, but is a solo god as a warrior. So they decrease the cooldown from her Heavenly Reflection, which is her clear, her 2, and her main form of damage, I guess. They decrease the cooldown from 14 to 12 seconds. So this means a little bit in solo. Sometimes what will happen early game, especially since you're getting out pressured, is you'll throw your 2 out and it's only rank 2 maybe. So you throw your 2 out and it's only rank 2, so it doesn't full clear. So you're kind of trying to tank the minions. You're against an Osiris. He's just like bullying you and stuff. You're trying to make sure the minions don't go to tower. And then your 2 is about to come off cooldown, and you use it again to full clear the wave to kill the rest of the minions, right? But then when the next wave comes, you don't have it off cooldown again. So now you're going to get out pressured even more, and then you have to wait for the minions to come back to your tower to even clear again. So this cooldown reduction actually does help her a bit in the laning phase, and even in teamfights, she'll be able to throw out a lot of 2s. Keep in mind that it goes on cooldown after you shoot it. So sometimes you'll hold the 2 for like 3 seconds or 4 seconds and then throw it out. So it's actually like a 16-second cooldown, right? Most of the time. So this helps her out a little bit in the laning phase. It's not going to push her to like be a really good solo. She's still going to get out pressure because she still has the weaknesses of not having a really good early game, right? And then they decrease the mana cost by 10. By 10 at all ranks? Yeah, by 10 at all ranks, which is cool. Not that big of a deal. Only 10 isn't that big of a deal. So yeah, it's going to help her out a little bit in the laning phase, but Amma is still going to be a very low pressure warrior who's really good in the team fights. So Ardio, they actually adjusted Ardio a little bit, not that much. They decreased her base health per level from 100 to 95. So 5 per level. It's decreased by 5 per level. So 5 times 20, that's 100. So she'll have 100 less health at rank 20. That's a lot of health, but it's not going to change her much. It's not going to make her have to build between power and defense because you just build defense on her basically in a couple like bruiser items and you'll do a lot of damage because you have so much base damage. This is consistent with any guardian or any warrior. You have so much base damage that you're just building full tank anyway. So this health reduction helps a little bit. You're not going to notice that much. But it still doesn't, it's not going to put Ardio in like a bad spot, or she's not even going to be like, she's probably not even balanced still. The OP thing about Ardio is her cripple. The fact that it lasts 6 seconds at max rank. You just literally can't use a movement ability unless you have beads. And it also lasts after you die. Like that should not be a thing. They should take that off completely. You should not have a cripple after you die. It should not just sit there. Doesn't make any sense. So yeah. So Guan Yu's up next. Guan Yu seeing some buffs as well, which is cool. So they increase his mana per level from 32 to 35, so 3 per level, so 3 times 20, that's 60. So he gets 60 extra mana at max rank, max health, well, max level, whatever. So that's cool. That helps with his mana a little bit. 60 extra mana is going to help with his mana because he does use a lot of mana because he is a ability spammer. And then they decrease the mana cost of Conviction, which is pretty cool, from 60 to 80. It was previously 60 to 80 to 60 at all ranks. So now, at all ranks, you're going to have your mana cost for your heal at 60, which is really good because you're spamming that a lot. It's a low cooldown if you're spamming it with your team. And this is consistent with his mana. So he got 60 extra mana this patch, and he's going to be able to get 1 more heal off in team fights. Yay! Just kidding. But yeah, this mana helps a little bit with the team fights and having enough mana for your abilities like non-stop. Genji's and Breastplate really help with that. So he's already kind of not in a bad position as far as mana. And if you go med on him, you're going to have mana. So it's not that big of a deal. It's not going to make him good because his early laning phase is still going to be bad. He's still going to get out pressured. He's still going to have all those bad matchups. So this will do nothing for his viability. It will just help him in games where he's actually able to get to late game, like maybe even like arena and stuff. You know, you can just spam abilities nonstop. So if you're able to get away with Guan somehow in some matchup, some weird matchup where they have a Sylvanas solo, then this will help him there, but not that big of a deal, honestly. Next up is Izanami. So, as per high-res fashion, they buff a god and then immediately nerf her because they think that she's OP. Just kidding. I don't know if that's why, but they did nerf her. There's a few nerfs here. So they decrease the stealth duration from 4 to 6 seconds to 3 to 5 seconds. So 1 less second on her stealth. I mean, it's like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You're still going to be able to sneak around in a fight and get your abilities off, or like sneak up to somebody in the laning phase or whatever. So that's just kind of like an adjustment they put to her negatively. Don't think it's going to change anything. And then this might actually change stuff. So Dark Porter, they reduce the damage from 250 to 650 to 220 to 620, so 30 damage at all ranks. And they decrease the physical scaling from 130 to 100. I actually like that her ult hit really hard because she's like not she's not an ability based character, but she's also not like an auto attack based character. She's kind of a bit of both. Yeah, her one gives her a huge steroid and it does a lot of damage, but her main autos aren't really that great as far as doing damage. So she's a bit of both. I like the scaling on this, but they reduce the scaling on it and also reduce the duration of the silence. You know, it's hard to say. I'm not really a hunter. Don't think it will change that much with her. She's still going to be in the same spot for the most part, but I do think it's weird that they immediately toned her down after buffing her. It's probably 'cause they buffed her because they released a skin for her, so they wanted that to sell. And they were like, alright, well, everybody already bought that skin. Nobody's going to buy it anymore. Let's nerf her because we don't like this character. Just kidding. I don't know. But, yeah, I don't think this will change anything, really. Izanami's biggest strength, and it'll always be her biggest strength just because it's her kit, is that she can full clear the first wave by herself and not take any damage. That's her biggest strength. That'll always be her biggest strength. And, yeah. Kumbhakarna, so this kind of affects solo because I like playing myself some Kumbha solo. They actually reduced the cooldown of his ult from 90 to 70 seconds, so you actually had to level it all the way to get to 70 seconds to just 75 seconds at all ranks. This is what Kumbha's cooldown used to be. His ult actually used to be 75 seconds at all ranks, and they were like, wow, this is OP. He's using it way too often. Let's nerf it to make it scale, so you actually have to put points into it. So at level 20, you get that end, but they said, hey, well, he's bad. Let's give him that back. So now he has 75 seconds at all ranks again. This is kind of good for solo because a lot of times you're playing Kumbha solo, your clear's not that great. So you want to use your ult to clear because it full clears if you're able to group up the wave. So this kind of helps a little bit with that. If you go cooldown boots, you're going to have like a 67 cooldown on your ult or something like that, maybe 68. That's going to help a little bit with that. And if you have blue buff, you're going to have like 60-second cooldown ult, so you're able to spam that ult more often. And if somebody ganks, you know, it's going to help with that. Also helps with support a little bit because they're not going to be hitting 20 ever, right? So they don't have to put like crazy amount of points into their ult to get this 75-second cooldown. So they're able to set up for their team more often, which is good. And plus the attack speed slow on his 3, they fixed that, so that's going to help him a little bit there. Shouldn't be too bad now. Now for Poseidon. Poseidon's he got buffed. So Poseidon, they increased the movement speed on his trident. He was already super fast, but they said, hey, let's make him faster. Should help his viability more. I don't know, maybe it will. They increased his movement speed on his trident, so you have to use that to get the movement speed. But it's pretty fast. 30% is pretty high. He doesn't have any escape ability besides the trident movement speed, so that helps him a little bit there. I thought he was viable, but in this meta where people have thorns, it's kind of tough because if people just thorns your Kraken, you kind of just kill yourself. And you can't do anything about it. You either have to Aegis it because they'll just walk into it and make you take the damage because you're not going to do that much damage to him anyway. But they also did buff his Kraken. So now you can use it inside of player-made deployable. It's like a Thor wall or Ymir wall. Before it would block it. Now you can just use it and have that that area. But they also made it so before, if you were in the center of a Kraken, it did a lot more damage than the outer side. Like, you would still get hit on the outer side, right? And you would still get slowed, I think, but it wouldn't do that much damage. Now they made it 50-50, so if you're inside the center, you're going to get hit for both areas of the damage. So you're going to still get hit really hard. Actually, you're going to get hit a little bit harder, apparently. But it's 50-50 now. So instead of it being like 60 or something, 60-40 or 70-30, so like if you were outside, you get hit for 30%. If you're in the very center, you get hit for 100. Now you're getting hit for, in the outside, you're getting hit for 50%, and in the inside, you're getting hit for 100, I think. I think that's how that works. So basically, overall, more damage, but also more damage in an AoE. So before, if you miss the center of their Kraken on like the targets, you wouldn't do that much damage, right? But now it's going to increase his damage a little bit in a bigger AoE. So basically, Kraken's just getting a AoE adjustment, right? He's just going to do more damage in a wider area. So Kraken's one of the best abilities in the game. I guess they felt they needed to adjust a little bit, make it, I guess, less frustrating if you miss it, but it's pretty hard to miss, I think. So, I don't know. I hope I explained that well. It's still kind of confusing to me. Like, look at all this. It's a little bit confusing to me, even though I read it a few times. Kind of just have to see how it works out. I want to see how hard it hits on the outside. Like, if you completely whiff it, but you still barely tick them with it, how much damage that does. Because if it does a lot, that might be broken. Because it's just a huge circle damage, like, ridiculous. Raijin, I guess, got... Okay, so they reduced the radius of projectiles, which is good. It was way too easy to hit, so they put it back to what it was, maybe? Yeah, I think that's what it was. Maybe not. Basically, they nerfed it. And then they also messed with his visual effects so that you could better see when, like, Raiju was on you. You could better see, like, if you're getting hit by these abilities, so that's good. Makes it less frustrating to play against, but... he's still going to be really good just because of his pressure level 1. Whenever you look at these characters, you just have to think, why are they good? Well, their pressure level 1 is really good, or they're really good at this thing. Was that thing nerfed? Was it nerfed, or was something other than that nerfed to the point where you can't play that character? If no, then that character is still good. If it was nerfed, that thing that makes them good was nerfed, then they're probably not good anymore, right? I don't know. That's the way I view it. And then Zeus, what did they do with Zeus? Oh yeah, they made it so if you hit your Aegis Assault, which is your shield that you throw out, the little shield that you throw, if you hit it with your Chain Lightning, it procs the instance of damage from the shield. So if you auto your shield, it does damage. So now if you hit it with your Chain Lightning, it also procs the damage. So this is going to increase your damage by a little bit. They were explaining it, and they said that this will help him with like the laning phase, because if you stood in the shield, like say, so the problem with Zeus is if I throw my shield out on the mid wave and their support or their mid laner stands in it, the minions will come to me, therefore I'm not hitting the entire wave with my autos on my shield, and also I'll be tanking the wave, so I'll be taking damage for it. This does not solve that at all, because the problem is that it's at level 1. You're not going to have your Chain Lightning at level 1. You're going to have your shield, unless you level your Chain Lightning, which you don't have your shield. So, like, this isn't going to solve the level 1 problem at all. You're still going to get hit by the... You're still going to walk into the Zeus shield, and he's still going to not get the clear that he wants. And at level 2, if you're throwing your shield out and then Chain Lightning your shield, you're losing damage on the wave. So it's like... I don't think this helps at all. I don't know. It might help in scenarios where, like, you're in the jungle and you throw out your 2 and the person's right on your shield and you throw out your Chain Lightning and you get so much damage through that. That's going to help his damage there, but it's not going to help his early game at all. IMO. And they also did increase the Chain Lightning scaling, which is cool, because actually Chain Lightning doesn't do that much. It just procs your whatever they're called, the charges, so that you can get to your 3 charges, so you can get a huge detonate off. The Chain Lightning itself doesn't really do that much damage, so the increase in scaling is actually pretty good. Should help his late game fights in the jungle. But like I said, since his early game isn't that... well, his early game is strong. He does a lot of damage, and his autos hit really hard. But his clear isn't that strong, and that's really important right now. So because of that, I don't think it's going to help him that much. So yeah, that's going to be the patch notes for 420. Blaze it up. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope I didn't rant too long. Hope I explained myself well enough. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you guys want me to do more patch notes reviews in the future. Yeah, later. Throw a dab in there. Bran, I will never.